Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kryptonian saying here, bringing you guys another review for One Piece chapter 1037. Man, these chapters are getting long. Like, I'm so used to saying like 200, 300, 400, 1037. I'm almost tempted to say like 1037, man. I might have to play around with that one, but I was actually wrong though. Like, I was like, man, you know, this fight's probably going to end in the next chapter. They got like a little bit more left in the tank. I think Luffy's getting ready to bring this one home. Nope. Oda's like, hold on a second. We ain't done just yet. Man, that shot where like Luffy, he's got all the attacks just flying at Kaido, the amount of inking and detail done on that double spread, that was beautiful. However, here's the thing, right? Like when the chapter opens up and you have everybody at the flower festival and they're writing all their wishes down on the lanterns and everything, Kaido just whips out a huge keg of beer right in the middle of their fight. And like Luffy has the most exaggerated expression on his face. I absolutely love seeing that. That was absolutely hilarious. However, Kaido's like, hey, like, I'm not drinking because I look down upon you. I'm drinking because I actually acknowledge you. It's been a long time since I've been able to fight someone this seriously, and me drinking in the middle of a fight, that's actually me acknowledging your power. And it's one of those things where I kind of like this, but at the same time, I kind of think back to when we first saw Luffy and Kaido was just drunk. And when Luffy first tried to fight him and ended up getting bodied, it was one of those things where it shows the difference in power, and Luffy had to go through that whole training arc and everything, but it was also foreshadowing because Kaido didn't really acknowledge him back then. However, he's acknowledging him now, and it's a different set of circumstances. Like Luffy just happened upon Kaido when Kaido was drunk. This time Kaido's willingly and knowingly drinking in front of him. And when you see these two clashing, right? Like Kaido, before they get into it, he's like, you can drink as well. You can tell the dude's just partying. And that's what I mean when I say like Oda very slowly is actually making me like Kaido. I really hated this character before, especially with that stuff with Oden. I absolutely hated him. However, right now, he kind of reminds me of Luffy a little bit. He's got this goofy type of demeanor to him. I'm kind of becoming Team Kaido. I can't even front. I stumbled over my words because I couldn't even believe saying that myself. Well, essentially, when Kaido gets his drunken boost, where he's kind of got that thing like Rock Lee in Naruto, where Rock Lee has like the drunken fist and he just levels up to insane levels. Kaido levels up once he gets drunk, and you start seeing some of the attacks start going through. He's able to send Luffy flying through the top of the ceiling and down below, and Luffy's like, oh my God, that attack hurt. And you start seeing Kaido go through the different stages of being drunk, where the dude's like, everything that I build, like it can't stay up, and it took me 5 years in order to build this thing. I'm gonna have to build it all over again. Then you start seeing him get a little bit anger, where Kaido starts using the Dragon Twister Demolition Gust. You see Luffy once again in the situation where Luffy's having to adjust, and Kaido's like, why don't you just leave me alone? So you see him go from a depressed drunk to a sad drunk, and then all of a sudden we start seeing some of the angry drunk because Kaido begins winding up that big club, and he starts swinging it towards Luffy, and Luffy's like, wait a second, I remember this one. You ain't gonna hit me with this one again. Luffy jumps up into the air. He lands on top of that club, and then Luffy takes advantage of the situation, and Luffy starts giggling, and he says like, you crazy drunk, you take this. And Luffy just kicks Kaido clean in the jaw, sends this man moving backwards, and Luffy ends up getting another hit on this man where he ends up putting his knee into Kaido's stomach, and Luffy just headbutts this man and hits him so hard that he knocks him sober. And Kaido gets pissed off at this point. Now he goes into a drunken rage. He's shooting out one of those mouth blasts at him. However, Luffy's like, yep, I've seen this one before. This one's not going to work on me. And so when Kaido starts trying to use the different attacks, Luffy's coming out. He's got the Gum Gum Gatling going, and Luffy's just blocking the attacks that Kaido's got. He's landing some of his own shots in there. He's taking some of the hits from Kaido. The artwork right here is just absolutely downright beautiful. This is probably one of the better double page spreads that I've seen in One Piece so far. The next thing we end up seeing is that the battle is just continuing with the intensity, and Luffy's continuing to get shots in. Looks like he gets in a shot with his feet where he's able to kick this man in either the kidney or right in the sternum itself. And Kaido begins coughing up blood. And you can tell in this moment that Kaido's like, man, Stu Luffy's not going down as easily as I thought. Like, I knew he was going to be a bit of a problem, but I didn't think I was going to have this much trouble with him. And the chapter then shifts over where we have the 5 elders, and they're talking at the red line, and they're talking about the fact that the reverie was accursed, and they start talking about the fact that you have all this chaos that is going on at Wano, and they didn't think that the fights were going to get this big, and they have the opportunity right now to actually target Nico Robin and go after her, and they're just assuming right now they have Nico Robin in custody. And you have this moment where they say, well, if Kaidou and Big Mom are joint forces and they're fighting, we can presume that there are a lot of people dead. We need to take this opportunity to eliminate as many of the inconveniences we have. And you can tell the world government because they got all their ships showing. They're preparing for that buster call. However, one of the people on the ship's like, well, wait a second, I see a huge shadow coming. And it looks like that's the island of Zou, that big elephant island. And when the 5 elders are talking, the 5 elders say, well, that's a devil fruit that's only a legend. It hasn't awakened in centuries, which that makes me wonder, are they talking about Zou, or is this something that potentially Oda's using as a red herring? I'm curious to know exactly what devil fruit they're talking about right here, because they say this, it should have been erased from the halls of history themselves. This is interesting just to see what Oda's cooking up here, because Oda's definitely cooking something with this devil fruit that he's referencing. I don't think it's going to be Zou, but if it is, I'm very curious to see how he's going to tie that back in with that arc. But my chapter question to you guys is, how do you guys feel about the fact that Kaidou actually acknowledged Luffy? And if you had to put this version of Luffy up against Whitebeard, the prime Whitebeard that went and did those legendary fights, if you had to put this version of Luffy up against Whitebeard or Prime Garp, would Luffy be able to win either of those fights? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.